What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Armchair Producers. I am George Tarrant, the particularly blonde George Tarrant right now, as I am in the middle of re-dyeing my hair blue and red. And no, it is not the French flag. No, it is not in consolidation of the Union Jack or anything like that. It is just because I like blue and red. I am here with the ever wonderful, ever delightful, ever charming Travis Croft. How are you, sir?
I'm fine and dandy. I think the real story here is not whether it's French. I mean, French has white in it, for crying out loud. And
So does the Union Jack.
It's not Brexit related, though it could be. I think it's quite obviously a shout out to the Melbourne Football Club, who you've decided to switch to.
Wait, what? No, if anything, it's the Bulldogs.
They also have white in there. If you just leave a blonde streak,
you can't get much whiter than my face, except when I'm embarrassed, when it becomes a beetroot red.
Touche.
Someone did the other day. I was where was I? I've gone to see The Princess Bride at the classic cinema down St Kilda way. Really lovely cinema. It was supposed to be. Yeah. It was supposed to be a rooftop screening, but because of the wind and rain, it got moved indoors. But so I was sitting there, and someone just looked over and went, "Wow, you're so white, you're almost glowing." So,
I think you can get your ass kicked for saying that to someone in the right place of the world.
That's true. But
I don't know if I'd feel comfortable to make an observation about someone's skin color, even if they are extraordinarily pale.
To be fair, the truth hurts sometimes.
So I remember being at a New Year's party at a bar once many years ago where a girl came up to me and told me, "It looks like you miss your PlayStation." She it was a bit of a rude comment, but at the time I just had to point out to her that I don't own a PlayStation. Thank you very much.
I once had a girl that I didn't know that I was being set up with. Apparently, she was a fashion student, which seems like a weird fit for me. But she said, "Yeah, you've got such a an average face. You could you could do so much more with it." And apparently I was a little drunk and a little annoyed, so I just responded, "Well, you've got a face that disappears into a crowd of two people. Bye."
Oh, burn!
I know. I felt bad.
Deary me.
Yes. So if that Russian bot is listening, I do apologize.
That was brutal.
Now, enough of our bizarre skin coloring and ridiculous attempts at kind of mild flirtation with people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get on to stuff that people really care about. What have you been watching, my friend?
Couple of things. I've been Netflixing a bit this week. Being living the life of a man of leisure, as I did. I caught up with a short series called "Don't Fuck with Cats."
I've seen that. Well, I haven't.
It's a very odd title, considering the topic at hand. It's essentially a story about a guy who's a psycho who filmed himself torturing and killing cats on the internet and sharing the videos, who then progressed onto actual killing of humans, again, which were also videoed and shared online. A Canadian fella so I guess the story largely revolves around a group of, I guess you'd call online vigilantes of a sort, who see the cat torture videos and decide to do something about it. And that being trying to catch him, figure out who he is, and essentially just dox him, or at the very least, or potentially, get the police involved if it's the right place. And I guess the title, if you're curious, refers to apparently it's an unwritten rule of the internet. Rule number one on the internet: don't fuck with cats. And so that's kind of where their motivation started. Is they're all they love cats, and these guys are doing horrible things to cats. So they spend literally years in this secret Facebook group trying to track him down and find clues And this guy is like some sort of like Bond villain who like actually floats among them in this group at times and shares videos and pictures and stuff just to taunt them, sort of thing.
Right.
And so this sort of the story flips between them and actual law enforcement once, serious things start, actually happening. It turns out they said the guy's in Canada, and then like shit gets real. Like one of the main people in the show works in a casino in Las Vegas, and this dude in their Facebook group shared a video of him walking through that casino. So he was a pretty fucked up guy. It's a hell of a story. I think I might vaguely have heard about it when it happened. It was about 10 years ago.
Oh, is it based on a real thing then?
It's real. This is a documentary.
Oh, really? Okay,
this is
I thought this was one of those weird Netflix movies. There's like, oh yeah, we've got to put something edgy out there.
No, this is, well, at least I took it to be, it's straight doco, right? Like it's basically a true crime documentary about online vigilantes and, essentially their quibble with the police who didn't take them seriously, and a psycho who, the classic move for psychos to be abusing animals.
Okay.
But to then progress onto actual murder. If you like true crime, I highly recommend it. If you like cats, maybe not quite so much.
Yeah.
It's really well put together. It's really slick. Classic Netflix when it comes to this sort of thing. It's got a fair bit of money behind it. And yeah, I really dug it. And I probably shouldn't have spoiled it if you hadn't seen the actual show, but like I went into it knowing nothing about it and found it. Yeah, I just like, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes and just binged it in like a weekend.
Okay.
If you like true crime, highly recommend. The other one I've been binging over the last couple of days in between, as sort of pretending to find a job, is the Netflix series The Stranger.
Okay.
So this stars Richard Armitage. This one is fiction, and Richard Armitage is our main star. It follows the lives of suburban families whose secrets and lies are made public by the appearance of a stranger. It sounds kind of generic, and so I was like, I'm not really sure if this is going to be for me or not. But I just dived in, and this is the first Richard Armitage thing I think I've ever watched. I have a whole bunch of friends who are super huge fans of his, but so it's British, obviously. And essentially we have Richard Armitage who plays Adam. He's just at his kid's soccer game when a woman in a baseball cap comes up to him and tells him a secret, I guess, about his wife, something he didn't know, something a bit scandalous, nothing too outrageous, I guess, but like pretty important that he knows. Okay. And that sort of sets him off down the rabbit hole of going, obviously he's like, you're full of shit, what's going on, who are you? But it sort of plants to see the doubt in his mind. And he sort of follows it up and discovers that what she had told him about his wife is actually true. And he confronts his wife, and that sort of sets off a chain of events that are quite fascinating and exciting from there. But this isn't just them, but like there's it sort of explores their whole social circle who all have similar encounters with this woman, this stranger, who will turn up and tell them something about someone they know or someone they love. And, in the spirit of, I thought either or 2 different approaches really, either in the spirit of you need to know, or sometimes as an attempt to blackmail them.
Okay.
Just to note, the stranger herself is played by a familiar face of Hannah John Carmen, whose name I'm sure no one will know. I didn't know, but I had to look her up. She played Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, okay.
And she was also in an episode of Black Mirror. She was in Ready Player One. I don't remember in Ready Player One, but she was apparently in it. She's also in the Dark Crystal Netflix show. I assume doing a voice, I imagine. So look, it's pretty good, right? It's not too salacious. It's not too crazy. I mean, there's no aliens involved or anything of that nature. It all feels grounded enough to me to be really compelling, and like you sort of go, next episode, please. It's so file under the sort of your whodunit kind of mystery kind of thrill.
Like, is each episode kind of an individual story, or is it an interconnected story throughout?
It's an interconnected story. So this is basically about a bunch of people who know each other, or have fairly tenuous links between each other.
Okay.
And this stranger is kind of coming in and throwing the cat amongst the pigeons in their lives.
Okay.
And through that disruption of their lives, they all start to, connect with each other. So, like, Richard Armitage and his wife, he's one of our main characters. We also have a police officer, a police detective played by, what's her name? Paula Dooley, I think. It's Siobhan Finneran. My bad, I don't know where I got that one from. And yeah, apparently she's a face I think British television viewers might know. She was on Downton Abbey. But so she doesn't. The police detective doesn't really know the Richard Armitage and his wife, but through some of the circumstances that happen during the actual story, they actually end up being meeting each other and being connected. Through the actions this stranger through the disruption this stranger has initiated.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like it's basically someone who's throwing a bunch of giant rocks into the pool that is these people's lives, and this show explores the ripples. I'm finding it really interesting. I'm really enjoying watching Richard Armitage do his thing. He's one of those people whose name you see pop up quite regularly that like people like and enjoy. And I look at his filmography and I'm like, he was in The Hobbit. Which one was he?
He was Thorin Oakenshield.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
He was the main guy. Big guy.
Sorry?
Well, not the big guy, he's a dwarf, but yeah.
I've kind of blacked out the whole series of films out of my memory.
He was actually fantastic as Francis Dolarhyde, the Tooth Fairy, in the final season of Hannibal. Really good.
Okay.
Creepy.
So he's done a lot of things, and I just I look at his face and I go, don't know who you are. I can see now, having spent a little bit of time watching this show, what people enjoy about his stuff.
Yeah.
He's very, very good in it.
In many ways, he's kind of in the same kind of ilk as Lee Pace, where not necessarily like he's got a strong following, but not necessarily everyone has had this connection to him. And you look at it and you go, "Oh, that fucker can act. All right, cool."
He always seems to be wearing a lot of makeup in films, anyway.
Yeah,
of course. I'm a big fan of Lee Pace, and I know him best, of course, from *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Of course, yes.
So, it's a bit of those three, actually. Scoot McNairy pops up in a lot of funny places. And, with a name like Scoot McNairy, how would you forget it? He was in Batman vs. Superman, and as the wheelchair guy.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Fuck.
He pops up in a lot of big films.
Yeah.
And, if I went down the street and said, do you know who Scoot McNairy is to 100 people? I reckon I get 100 no's.
Yeah.
And by the same token, what's her name? Mackenzie, Cameron Mackenzie, is it? She was in Dark Fate.
Oh yes, Cameron Mackenzie. Yeah,
Mackenzie Davis.
Oh,
I knew Mackenzie was in there. Mackenzie. So again, if I asked 100 people on the street who she was, I doubt many would know, but they'd probably know her face because again, she's starting to pop up in a lot of big movies. I think she was in Blade Runner as well as Terminator this year. She was in The Martian. She
building a repertoire.
Solid cast of that show, but yeah, I know what you mean. Most people, I don't think I've seen Lee Pace not under mounds of makeup in a film.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely seems to have more kind of cult following, like Halt and Catch Fire. Some people go, I've never heard of that show, and it's one of the high-rated shows. Otherwise, it's kind of Pushing Daisies, a cult popular show that cancelled far too soon, and people go, I don't know what that is. So fingers crossed.
Otherwise, he pops up as he really is best known probably as Ronan from Ronan the Accuser from the Marvel films. He was in The Hobbit as well.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, he's someone. But yeah, he's someone who wears far too much makeup. But I'm sure he's hopefully been well paid for his efforts because I think he's a good actor.
Absolutely agree.
The other one I'd like to talk about, we're talking Netflix.
Mm.
Regular bot listeners will be familiar with this show because I talked quite extensively about season 1. It was You.
Oh, yes.
Not You, but
Mm.
You.
Yeah, the show, George
The
Terran, A
show.
Life of a Weirdo. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It was, I thought Roseanne Barr was miscast in the lead, but somehow she brought it home.
Hey, I think that she did a really good job as being me. I think she did a fantastic job.
It was a very original interpretation. I'll pay that. So, for those who aren't familiar, You is again another Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
The main cast, the main actor is Penn Badgley. He played the role of Joe Goldberg in season 1 and season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Penn Badgley, I look at him and the thing I know him from is he was in a wonderful film, one of my favorite films of the last 10 years, called Margin Call from
Okay.
2011 with Zachary Quinto, Stanley Tucci, Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons. So you can kind of see how he might have got lost in the mix there a little bit.
That's one hell of a cast.
He plays a deranged yet charming bookstore employee who basically stalks and convinces some women to fall in love with him in the first series, played by Elizabeth Lyle, who played Guinevere Beck in season 1. And it's been out for a couple of years, guys. If you haven't got around to it, I'll try not to spoil, but other than to say it doesn't go well. The fit hits the shan, and by the end of the series, it gets intense. But he exudes this amazing charm and charisma that at the same time makes a very easy switch to being incredibly creepy and disturbing when required. And I know some people who actually refuse to watch it and actually think it's somewhat irresponsible of Netflix to make TV shows like this because somehow this encourages or is almost like an instruction manual for other creeps who actually want to do this stuff. Not sure I agree with that necessarily, but I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion. But anyway, so that was season 1. By season 2, season 1 set in New York.
Mm-hmm.
By the start of season 2, he has now shifted to Los Angeles, and we're not entirely sure why. The reasons for his move to LA we will learn about progressively over the first few episodes. But essentially, season 1 ends with a reappearance of one of Joe's ex-girlfriends, played by Amber Childers, playing Candace Stone. And this is a bit of a bombshell because all the way through the series, it's been insinuated that he had murdered Candace.
Okay.
And so her friends are all like, where is she? And it's like, oh, she moved to Rome. So her appearance at the end of season 1 is a bit like, okay. So spoilers, sorry guys, you should have watched earlier. So we sort of learn through the first couple episodes, essentially, it's probably not a huge leap, that he's moved to LA to try and escape Candace, who has the dirt on him, so to speak. And in the process, when he gets there, we sort of see him trying to change his ways, trying to sort of blend into LA, which he doesn't do well. It makes a big deal about the differences between LA and New York. It's actually a fairly humorous. Some of the observations about LA are quite amusing. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beast in of itself, Los Angeles.
Yep.
I don't think I would choose to live there. But in the process, he ends up working at like a Whole Foods type place, and ends up starting a relationship with Love Quinn, played by Victoria Pedretti, who was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, House on Haunting Hill. So she probably a familiar face to some folks out there. And well, the story takes similar, some interesting turns from there, in the sense that we've got a guy who's desperately trying to hide who he is. We've got multiple characters coming in and out. It does follow a fairly similar arc to the first one, where we sort of learn a little bit about Joe's situation here, why he is where he is. In this case, him wooing Love, then the mask slipping, eventually falling off, and the consequences. of that.
Sounding a little bit Dexter-ish.
Yeah, I can see that. It certainly has a bit of a Dexter, because that was sort of each season of Dexter kind of followed that arc. Usually, Dexter trying to do what he does while trying to avoid being captured and being found out by the various people he loves and his friends and his wife and stuff. It has that angle. Probably has more of a creepy, thrillerish tone to it than Dexter did. I'm not sure. Joe Goldberg's the character, but Dexter was. But look, if you liked season 1, I think you'll probably get a lot out of season 2, like I did. Don't expect them to change too much. It does have its own twist ending. It's Shyamalan moment.
Okay. It was all a dream.
He's actually, woke up in bed next to Bryan Cranston, and the whole thing was,
and Bryan Cranston was strangely wearing a Jar Jar Binks mask.
I'm not about the kink shame.
Oh, come on. You can shame a little bit on that one with Jar Jar Binks.
Hey, you know what?
It's Salacious Crumb or nothing else.
But it was better than the Jabba outfit. So look, like I said, I have a number of friends who actually discovered it only in season 2 and loved it. I burned through it in probably 2 or 3 days, because me having watched season 1, I'm really connected to the Joe character. And it's really weird how I think it does something very strange to this show, and it's probably a good comparison to Dexter, where you end up rooting for the psychopath. Like, most people, you're like, oh no, watch out for the killer behind the shower curtain. Not this one. You're like, oh my God, I don't want him to get busted. I don't know why. Yeah. It's an interesting little trick that the TV show is playing on you. They putting you on the side of someone who's pretty reprehensible. In fact, one could make an argument, I think, that Dexter had some redeeming characteristics, right? I mean,
he had his very, very obvious set of rules of I only kill bad guys, that sort of stuff. But it's a good endorsement, because I think that balance and being able to have pathos and empathy with a very clearly broken, cruel, horrible person like that is very telling of the ability of the actors and the storytelling, the writers and directors. So that's quite an endorsement, I think.
I got one more quick one to cover, and I'm going to move out of Netflix territory, and then I will handball it back to George for all those bots desperate to hear about what he's been on or anything D&D related, because D&D's he's mad. On Sunday, I went to the movies to see Just Mercy.
Oh, okay. This is the one with Brie Larson?
Brie Larson, Jamie Foxx, Michael B. Jordan. So we've got Captain Marvel, Electro, and Killmonger together at last.
It definitely takes 3 to tango.
And this is the story of, we said it's by world-renowned civil rights attorney Bryan Stevenson. I'd never heard of him, but essentially we have Michael B. Jordan playing a young Harvard law graduate. And no, this is not a John Grisham novel. This is a true story of him working to basically free the wrong convicted Jamie Foxx, who's basically arrested for being in the wrong place at the wrong time and being the wrong color, and convicted of a murder he didn't commit, and sentenced to death. In pretty scandalous circumstances, it must be said. And so we have Brie Larson and Michael B. Jordan working together as, this creating this law practice all around the law of equal rights or something. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Basically, providing free legal services to people who've been convicted of serious crimes but don't have a means to actually, defend themselves, or in this case, try and run their appeals or whatever. There's some excellent performances in this film. Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx are wonderful. Brie Larson reminds me yet again why I liked her so much before Captain Marvel. She was, you see Room. She was wonderful in Room. I think it was Short Term 12. I think she was in that. Not mistaken. United States of Tara. She was great in that. It's when you see something like this, you go, I don't. She absolutely was completely miscast as Captain Marvel. Completely the wrong actress for that role. Despite being a wonderful actress, she was just the wrong actress for that. And I think there's something up of a direction there as well, because you get that stone face the whole time she's in that film, where she's actually much more expressive in this role and believable. So that's my boots to Brie Larson. But she's great. So you got those three central performances are very good, particularly Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx. We learn again, you remind us again, Jamie, why he won an Oscar once. He doesn't do enough films like this anymore. But aside from that, and that is probably more than enough to keep the story chugging along. It's pretty paint by numbers.
That's kind of what the trailer looks like. It looks like a weird combination of sort of like The Life of David Gale and what was that one with Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock and Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh, Time to Kill.
Yeah. It's kind of like, all right, it's ticking all of these particular boxes. It feels very Oscar baity.
A little bit, and I don't think it worked. I don't think it got any nominations, if I'm not mistaken. No Oscar nods. But yeah, it's a good story, but it's not one we haven't heard before, and it's not addressed in a particularly original, inventive way. As I say, it's you've nailed it on the head. It's like any number of John Grisham stories. Southern civil rights, wrongly convicted African American man. Young idealistic lawyer fights to free him, and fights against the establishment, right? So we've got the evil sheriff, the racist local judge who doesn't trust him. The only slightly original angle on it is we have a district attorney who's only just been elected, who didn't prosecute the original case. So when he's the one that Michael B. Jordan's dealing with to try and get the conviction overturned, and he's got a little bit of range there. He's not just, well, I'm a good southern redneck and blah blah blah. He's actually got some. You can see he's a character who's got some doubts about what's been done by his office before he became part of it. And so he is portrayed in a slightly more interesting way, but he at the same time doesn't get a whole lot to do. He's just sort of there to serve a purpose. But it's an interesting angle that he's not portrayed as an abject racist or someone who is just evil. But like I said, look, I mean, it's fine. It's competently made, well acted. Just don't expect any surprises. Don't expect anything you haven't seen before. I know you, with your razor sharp, the Terran sense, you would walk in and you'd be able to pick the plot within 5 minutes, if not less. In fact, you'd probably pick the plot from the trailer.
Yeah, it's a real shame, because these sorts of movies, they should be held in better esteem, I think, when it comes to actually the impact of them. There's only so much that you can kind of trade off of, oh, this is based off of a real story, and that gets you a certain amount of kind of respect or empathy from the audience straight away. But if it's delivered in a very kind of lackluster way, or not in a compelling or new way, it's sort of like, okay, well, this is just kind of unfortunately fallen into the shuffle of all of these other ones. And especially when it's based on real life, when it feels like that story has been told in a John Grisham novel and stuff like that. It's like, well, the one that's based on real life should be more compelling. It should have more gravitas and value to it.
It's got to find cast who do their best with it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe the real story here is that this has just happened so freaking much in that country.
Yeah.
Like, the story of black men being railroaded and sent to death row is so common in the United States that the film stories of that portray them have become cliche.
Yeah.
And that's a sad fact. I mean,
Yeah.
my friend who I was with, and afterwards we were talking about it and saying that there's some people out there you'd like to see put to death, probably, right? Horrible people who do horrible things.
Mm.
But I would never support the death penalty just because they kill so many people who are try and kill at least so many people who are innocent.
Mm.
That's one thing to take away from this as well, is that he was let off, he was innocent, and was way too close to being executed. I mean, I don't know how close he actually got, but I mean, the fact he'd been on death row for quite some time and had a number of appeals declined before he got let out was scandalous. So yeah, but that's an interesting angle on it. It's happened so much that the films on it become a little boring. Well, boring is the wrong word, cookie cutter-ish, right? I mean, much of a muchness is the story follows the same beats, and that's just how these things happen. I mean, when you're telling a true story, you probably don't have a whole lot of latitude for making stuff up.
That's true, but I think the fact that it is cookie cutter and it has the same general story has been told so much, and it has become a genre in some ways, is really chastising. So it's a shame.
But not playing for much longer in Australia. You probably won't miss a whole lot if you wait until it's streaming or it's on DVD. But look, if it's a topic that interests you, you could do a lot worse. If you like Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, you could do a lot worse. They do a great job with what they've got.
Okay, cool.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, it's going to be a heavy Netflix option for offering for this episode, but I got around to watching Six Underground on Netflix. Now, this is the Michael Bay directed action extravaganza for Netflix.
The Ryan Reynolds film.
Yes, and it's a complete and utter mess. It is a foul mess of awfulness. The action sequences, the special effects, the design of it, everything about it is just gregarious, self-masturbatory wank from Michael Bay, just kind of going, all right, I was given money and a shitty script to work off of. I'll get some competent actors in it and make something bombastic and ridiculous, and that'll do well. No, it really doesn't. Ryan Reynolds is the main character. He plays the character of one, because all of the people, as the name suggests, Six Underground, there are six, and they don't go by their actual names until the very end, because they realize it's about family. Please, fuck off. This isn't fucking Fast and the Furious. Fuck off. No, because the idea is actually kind of cool. Ryan Reynolds' character is a ridiculously wealthy man who fakes his death as a way of going off the grid to make legitimate change and essentially become a vigilante in the world, where he doesn't have to worry about political borders or anything like that. He gathers intelligence. He's some kind of tech genius, and that funds them, and he's got connections with people. He can kind of get all the weapons and all of this sort of stuff. And he essentially goes around and, through really, really horribly organized storytelling at the beginning, this assembly of the team. And in many ways, it's very cliched building of the team that you get in any kind of Ocean's 11 movie or heist movie or anything like that. It's generally very cliched. It's like, oh, there's the smart leader, there's the sexy strong woman, there's the crazy man, there's the young one who's really, really cool with all of the so like free running and that sort of stuff. It's very paint by numbers, but this is a paint by numbers where the only colors they had were neon and sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
and it's horrible. It's a mess. When you think of Michael Bay, you generally think of big action pieces and elaborate set design, and so like everything is kind of slow motion sex. Everything has sex appeal in it, and he tries to do this, but he amps it so far up that it's vomit inducing. It's really, really bad. And it just keeps getting worse and worse as the film goes on. This is, as we've said, with many of the Netflix produced movies, this is one of those ones where they're trying to just tick boxes of, oh, we need a bombastic action movie. We need to get a Michael Bay movie. Let's just throw some money at this. Oh, Ryan Reynolds is ridiculously popular at the moment. Let's get him in it. And let's get some European actors in to get the European market interested. This is a movie by committee, and it's a failure. I do not recommend it, even as a streaming service. Next up,
so I have one question for you.
Oh yes.
Well, maybe this is so. I'm going to plant a seed.
Okay.
A seed. Next week, I want to, or next podcast, because who knows with us. It could be next week. It could be next year. We don't know.
Hopefully.
We should do. I was going to say our top 5 Michael Bay films, but that could be a struggle to find 5 I don't hate.
Okay.
Maybe the top 3. But as a sampler, what do you think the Michael Bay film you've enjoyed the most is?
Oh, it's got to be The Rock.
It was a pretty good one. His early films weren't terrible, right? The Rock, never saw Bad Boys. Did he do Con Air? He didn't do Con Air. I thought he did.
No, that was not Jan de Bont, not Simon West. One of those guys. But no, he did The Rock. He did Armageddon. He did Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that'll be interesting to actually build a list and kind of try and defend our reasoning.
It might end up being like, if we do top 5, it might be, because I'm looking here going, he's got 61 entries as director, but scroll too far, scroll back past 1995, and it's all music videos.
Yeah. And you can definitely see that in his style. Yeah.
Wow, he did Vanilla Ice videos.
Yep.
Yowzers.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on, that's something to look forward to next week. We will talk Michael Bay, the thespian.
Yeah. Next up, changing tact entirely, but still on Netflix, is the animated movie Ni no Kuni. Now, for anyone who has listened to our podcasts from the very beginning, you will know that Ni no Kuni was actually based off of a JRPG on the PlayStation, now available on the Switch, and there's been a sequel called Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. This is a spin-off story, has nothing to do with the games at all, but the animation is in the style of many of the Studio Ghibli movies, which incidentally are now available on Netflix. Sorry, America, it's not in... oh no, it might be in America. It might be Japan that's not available. Somewhere. Sorry, somewhere. Anyway, so the animation is beautiful. And if you like any of the Studio Ghibli movies, visually, this is incredibly compelling and a very good example of it. I believe it was actually done by Level 5, which are the creators of the game. I could be wrong on that, though. The problem with this movie is that it doesn't have the heart and soul of the games. Now, the heart and soul of the first one, within the introduction, the kind of even before you get to the true kind of tour guide element of the game, where it's the tutorial phase, it was heart-wrenching. It was so sad and brilliant and beautiful. This does not have that at all. It tries really hard, and you can see it trying, but it doesn't explain anything really well. And you're left kind of going, oh, okay, this is a weird Japanese thing, isn't it? And it's doing it a disservice to call it that, especially considering how amazing so many of the anime movies that are coming out of Japan are. This is it's not thought out enough, and the story overall is very paint by numbers again, but the animation is beautiful. The voice work is not great. I feel like it should have had more time in development, and it should have had a better cast, a new voice cast to it, because the ones that certainly do it for the English, at least, I did listen to it dubbed. That's just my thing. I didn't find that they were particularly good. They were fine, that was serviceable, but there was no real acting in any of their voices, and it was very, very stereotypical and kind of boring. I ended up having to watch it over the course of, I think, 3 sessions or something, and it's not a very long movie. But yeah, so I was disappointed with that. What's that?
Not a good sign if you have to split it up.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to it because I really loved the game, the first one, and having this is like, oh, cool. That could be really good because it's a very rich, dense world that they created in the RPG. But obviously, JRPGs and RPGs generally, you need to invest a lot of time in with the world building and everything like that. And they're just condensing it down to, I think, just around the 2-hour mark. It's like, all right, this should have been a TV show. This should have been a TV show. They would have been able to spend more time just getting to know the characters in the world that we know, as well as this fantasy parallel world. They would have been able to tell a far more compelling story. They just compacted so much in it. You just left kind of disassociated with everything. Nothing really had any particular weight to it, which is a shame.
Speaking of all things anime, did you ever get around to seeing Your Name?
I did, yes.
Please tell me you loved it. It's the only anime I've ever seen that I absolutely, completely, and utterly adored.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely stunning. The animation is phenomenal, and the way that they tell the story, beautiful. Really beautiful.
I thought it was stunning, you said, the animation. Having been to Japan a couple of times, I felt like, I think I said when we reviewed it the first time, I felt like I recognized some of the places in the film. They looked like locations.
Oh, it's stunning, yeah.
And so, yeah, that is but the reason I brought it up is the director's next film from the director of Your Name actually opens next week in Melbourne.
Ooh. What's its name?
Weathering with You.
Weathering with You. Hang on. A little interesting.
So, according to the Madman website, who I think are distributing, Madman Entertainment, who have do a lot of that kind of anime kind of shit. According to their website, we'll be playing at the Cinema Nova, Hoyts Chanson, Melbourne Central, and Village Century City as of next Thursday.
Fantastic. If you like that as well, it is now available on Netflix from the creators of Your Name, Flavors of Youth. And I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but if you liked Your Name, you may very well.
I loved Your Name. It made for some interesting conversations with a girl I was trying to date at the time. And I said, I love Your Name. And she's like, thank you. I'll thank my parents. And an awkward conversation ensued where I tried to explain, well, she did have a very fine name, whatever it was. It was in fact film.
I had a similar instance with that. I was going through a Steve Martin phase when I was still in middle school, and I watched his classic movie, All of Me. And I was sitting at lunch table with my friend Patrick and 2 lovely girls, and they were talking, and I said, "Oh, have you seen All of Me?" And my friend Patrick instantly went, "No, strip down and we can." It's so funny. Yeah.
Who's on first?
Yeah. But anyway, moving on from sadness. Another thing that came out.
One quick thing I just want to.
How dare you interrupt me?
A scandalous note I've just discovered is in production at the moment a live-action remake of Your Name. Set to be
Uh,
directed by a gentleman named Mark Webb.
Wait, the Spider-Man director?
Correct.
Uh, it could be more in his wheelhouse. Although I really hope it's not what he delivered with Quantum of Solace, I think.
That wasn't him, was it?
I can't remember.
Anyway, he also did 500 Days of Summer, which I kind of liked.
Yeah. So, that's what I'm thinking of. 500 Days of Summer, Your Name could be good, but
Sorry for interruption there. Please continue. I just thought I'd let people know it's exciting.
no, that's totally fine. Now, I watched the new offering from Stephen Moffat, the guy, one of the co-creators of the highly acclaimed Sherlock series, as well as having done Doctor Who, coupling, numerous things that he is quite popular for. And that is Dracula. Now, this is a very interesting show. It's 3 episodes. They're kind of feature length, each one. And it kind of hops a little bit through time following Dracula, but in a succinct way. I don't know whether or not the ending really worked for me, but certainly the first episode and 2/3 of the second episode, really, really good. They tell the age-old story by this point of Dracula. And they kind of inject enough originality to kind of the display of his abilities and his powers and the kind of reactions that he has with like Van Helsing and Jonathan Harker and some of those quintessential names that you expect to come up whenever someone does something to do with Dracula. It's an inventive new way of doing it, which is not surprising considering Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss are the writers behind it. Mark Gatiss, he is one of the League of Gentlemen, and he has been working with Stephen Moffat through Sherlock and a number of other projects as well. Dracula is played by Claes Banje. He's Danish, and apparently he has played Dracula before, I think. And it's a very interesting choice of actor for him, or not necessarily choice of actor, but the way that they portray Dracula is very interesting. The first time we meet him, he's old and withered and he's kind of frail, but there's this maliciousness and this constant threat to everything that he does, every movement that he makes, every word that he speaks. It's incredibly meticulously calculated. And as he kind of regains his power, gets younger again, he just breathes into this interesting thing, and it actually kind of explains some of his abilities through the drinking of blood. Like, he is able to have a much better understanding of English language, or the modern English language, because he drank Jonathan Harker's blood, and Jonathan Harker is an Englishman. It's very interesting, but just the ending. It's so frustrating the way they ended it, because it kind of made sense, but at the same time, kind of felt like a bit of a wet fart, which is a shame.
I see a new Dracula story, and I'm like, yawn, giant fucking yawn. How many fucking Dracula stories have we been told? How many freaking vampire stories? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I think Tarzan technically is the most portrayed character in cinema history, but Jesus Christ, Dracula can't be far behind. Is this at all remotely original, interesting, or do you need to be a hardcore vampire movie fan to get this?
I don't know if I can really answer that, because Dracula is well played. But the knockout performance is Sister Agatha, played by Dolly Wells. Now, Dolly Wells, she's not really done anything that I know of. She was in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but I don't remember that. She was in Bridget Jones' Diary, but I certainly don't remember her from that. She is fucking brilliant. Her character is amazing, and the actress Dolly Wells does such an interesting rendition of this person who is part of the Van Helsing family line. It is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The first episode is must-watch TV, in my opinion. Primarily because of her, but the way that they retell the very classic Bram Stoker Dracula story in that first episode is also excellent. So definitely give the first episode a try. The second episode is kind of a bizarre whodunit on the ship as it is traveling across the sea to England. And it's good. It is nowhere near as good as the first one. I think that if they had got like the kind of the quality of Knives Out and Rian Johnson's control of that for this whodunit, that would have been phenomenal. They had some really interesting characters, really interesting actors, and an interesting kind of compelling trapped on a ship play area that you couldn't help but feel kind of claustrophobic with the actors. But then the third
I picture you right now. Samuel L. Jackson on a boat with vampires on a boat.
I saw it coming and I still had to laugh. I hate it.
I've had it up to here with these motherfucking vampires in this motherfucking boat. I mean, supernatural vampire movie. You know, with you just write yourself.
No.
I actually, the last vampire movie I enjoyed, and I'll put my hand up and say I find most vampire movies to be trite, uninteresting trash. They're lazy, but I'll pay that because I've never been particularly interested in vampires as a character. So my horror film genre of choice is a zombie movie. I will watch most zombie movies because I love zombies. Whereas some people, obviously, you know, if you're a Buffy fan or you're maybe a Twilight fan, you grew up really enjoying vampire. For me, I was scarred for life by Bram Stoker's Dracula. I remember watching it with a friend and never been quite so bored in my life. But the forgotten Dark Universe film, Dracula Untold, I watched in a hotel room in Japan a few years ago. Okay. And actually, I remember Trudy and I were in a hotel room in Hiroshima or somewhere, and we actually delayed our departure from that hotel for an hour until the absolute last minute before we could check out to try and watch as much of that movie as possible. And then as soon as we got to the next hotel, quickly in the next town, bought the movies for the movie package for the room again, and quickly sort of sat down and tried to sat through the first hour so we could figure out what happened in the rest of the film. I know it's not a well-rated film. I know it didn't get reviewed particularly well. But there was something about that movie that I found
I will pay that. I will pay that. I enjoyed that movie. It was an unusual attempt at telling the origins of Dracula. I generally really like Luke Evans' work. I think he's a good, solid actor
as well. I think he's a great actor.
Dominic Cooper, he did really well. So yeah, no, I'd pay that.
Charles Dance is always good value. Or is it Charles Dance?
Charles Dance. Thank you very much.
So, I mean, that's just not me trying to be uber critical here. It's just that I see a Dracula TV show and I'm like, how many of them? And we're going to get another one later this year when we get the Jared Leto Mobius thing.
Well, that's not Dracula.
Not Dracula. He's a vampire, though.
He's a superhero. So,
well, in the same way that Venom's a superhero. It's like we couldn't get Spider-Man right. So we're going to try some of his other Marvel properties we own and see if we can squeeze a few dollars out of him.
But you know,
For
you
one, I'm
type
going to put
in,
my
you
flag.
type in
Put
Drac.
my flag. I think that's going to stop. I have no confidence in Jared Leto anymore after Suicide Squad.
I think it's going to be passable at best. I think it's like, yeah, that's fine.
It's a bit, so Venom level.
Hey, that is someone's favorite superhero movie.
Hey, look, you know, I know criticism if you enjoyed it. I think most people would agree it was okay.
The pinnacle of Dracula movies is, of course, the 1995 Mel Brooks classic Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Of course.
You know.
Oh, you were putting it ahead of the 1922 Nosferatu.
Oh fuck! What was the one that kind of parodied that?
Shadow of a Vampire.
Yes, loved it.
The one with Willem Dafoe in it, I think, and John Malkovich.
Yeah, and Carrie Yules.
That's a fucking great movie.
Yeah.
I would, if any of the bots listening are fans of vampire movies or Dracula in particular, I would strongly encourage you to check out Nosferatu, the original.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure it's on YouTube. I'm fairly sure I watched it for a movie club I was part of a few years ago. It's from 1922, so it's not out of copyright yet. That's probably a bit ridiculous. But if you can, I mean, it's a bit of a chore these days because it is a silent movie. And let's be honest, technology has moved on a smidge.
Just a touch. Just
20 years. So it could be a bit of a struggle, but I would strongly encourage people to check out Nosferatu, which is one of the most influential films ever made. And then check out Shadow of a Vampire from 2000. That's a really good, which is about the making of that film.
Yep.
And you see some really good stuff from Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich. But sorry, I interrupted you yet again. Sorry.
That's okay. Shadow. I'm just making notes. Because I do make notes. All right. So now going from the sort of like conversation of the tired to the well-lauded, I am halfway through the final season of BoJack Horseman.
I quite like that show. I don't know where I'm at with it at the moment, but I enjoy it.
It is awesome. It is from moment one of season one till right now, and apparently right until the very end, because it's finished and highly lauded. This is brilliant, cutting parody and comedy and intelligent humor at the fucking peak. This is the scalpel blade sharp comedy. Is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. The animation remains solid and impressive for the show that and the look they're going for, but the surgical precision of breaking into these characters' lives and showing them, it is astronomically good. I mean, the episodes are 22 minutes long, but anytime I had to, I was pausing it. I didn't want to miss a moment. It was gripping and you know, how often does a comedy fucking tell you that?
It's still pretty dark.
Yeah. It's bleak. It is really bleak, but it is I have not been compelled to pay so much attention to a comedy in years. This is you are rewarded for giving it your full attention, and you are going to get the most out of it by giving it your full attention. Everyone is awesome.
Question.
Yes.
I like BoJack Horseman, but I think I binge watched a few seasons there for a while. I've got no idea when the last time I watched BoJack Horseman was. If I jump straight into the new season, or anybody, even if any of our bots listening, just sort of fuck it, I don't want to watch 7 seasons of it. And they jump straight in. Where do you stand? Like, I've seen a few seasons. I know who the characters are, but I got no idea where I'm up to.
There's
maybe okay.
No. especially with the final season, because it is kind of like because it is the final season, it is all wrap up, it is all payoff. So if you miss a couple of seasons, or you don't have any of that pre-existing kind of knowledge of what shit the characters have gone through, you definitely are not going to get anything really out of it. You're probably not even going to enjoy it. This is long form storytelling, going from season 1 to the end of this series.
The fictional person who's never seen it before really needs to start at season 1.
Yes.
And me, who may have watched the first 3 or 4 seasons, probably needs to figure out where they're at and go back and watch the season.
100%. You can probably, there are people who will be able to just jump in and just kind of, all right, no, I'm getting it. But the style of comedy and the level that it's working on, it would be one hell of a fucking mountain to climb to actually just jump in the final season and watch episode 1 and come away from it and go, yeah, that was awesome. If you can do that, more power to you. You're smarter and better than I am, but I just think that you are going to get so much more out of it having gone through.
It's always the way, right? If you're actually deeply involved in the story, like you could jump in and start watching you in season 2, but if you'd be thoroughly confused with all the flashbacks about season 1, you'd probably get the gist of it.
Yeah,
guy's a creep. He's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. She's blackmailing, whatever. But, without that context of what happened in the first season, you'd be kind of lost. So, yeah, I understand. Yeah. Question for you. Have you been watching any of the new Rick and Morty?
I have. I think I'm up to date on it.
I don't think there's been a new episode for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think I'm up to date with it. And highly enjoyable. Personally, BoJack Horseman is my preferred choice out of those 2.
But you're comfortable that the standard with Rick and Morty has held up into season 4?
I think so. Yeah, overall. I think some of that self-referential comedy does give it a little bit of a crutch to kind of fall back on for some things, maybe. But it's smart enough and self-aware enough that it gets away with it. But overall, highly enjoyable. Yeah, it's...
I was just thinking earlier you were talking about heist film sort of cliches with the Michael Bay film. And it just kind of reminded me of the recent episode, well, one of the new season episode of, which one is it?
HeistCon or something, yeah.
HeistCon, we're trying to remember which episode, not that one. It's, one crew over the Cruco's Morty.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
I loved that whole thing. It was so fucking good. I don't know if any other show would have been able to pull that off, except possibly Futurama.
It's interesting when you see like so how many seasons is for BoJack? Is it season 7?
I think so, yes.
When you compare it to it's a cliche now, 6. But how lousy The Simpsons is now, how mundane the Family Guy is now. You kind of go, look at the guys behind BoJack, and I don't know whether this was an enforced thing of we're not paying for another season, so fuck off, or whether they're like 7 and out. Seinfeld, Breaking Bad, 7's a good number. It's a good time to leave, right? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Absolutely right.
And by now, The Simpsons is the Joker.
Yeah, it's tragically true. But I think that there's so much pressure on comedies, whether they're animated or live action, to keep going. Like the concept behind How I Met Your Mother, for the first couple of seasons, that was really good. It just outstayed its welcome. Yeah. They always end up pushing it way further than it ever needs to, particularly if it's a romantic comedy thing. It ends up just basically becoming this weird incestuous thing of, oh, everyone's dated everyone, a la Friends. And it's like, no, you've kind of forgotten what the actual point of this is. Yes, there's character development and evolution and relationships come and go and blah, 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 but you're not funny anymore. You're forgetting the cardinal rule of a comedy.
I wonder if it's because animation, I mean, I don't know if it is. I would imagine it's cheaper to make than live action. For the most part, unless you're paying Simpsons money to the cast. But it's got to be cheaper to make and probably easier to make for 30 years because the characters don't age.
Well, I think the thing that animation has over everything else is you have to get the scripts right before they even go to storyboarding and animation. And you have this level of kind of certainty, and you know, with animation, you are much more forcibly directing the actors to bring out certain performances than you are with a live action, where it's sort of like, oh, the actor's going to put their own spin on a phrase or something like that. So it's probably in some ways easier to maintain the quality of a show for an animated series going longer, just because you have more granular control at the very beginning before you get to the final product. I don't know though.
While we're talking animation,
Yeah.
What did you make of the fuss over the summer about Hank Azaria no longer voicing Apu on The Simpsons?
I don't care. It's The Simpsons. I haven't cared about The Simpsons in years.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah. I don't see how they can go, oh, yeah, it's been fine for near 30 years at this point. Yeah, now we're going to make a stand. It's like, your stand means nothing. That stance from Fox, Disney, and The Simpsons to kind of say, yes, we're going to be appropriate, and you know, if Apu carries on, we will get a culturally appropriate actor to come in and do it. It's like, well, what's the point? Because you've got 30 years of history with that character that you're just throwing away because of peer pressure. If that's the case, just kill off the character. Or you should have done this a long, long time ago when it was actually an important issue and you could have made a real statement in the industry about representation, instead of, oh yeah, we're the last racist show on the fucking net. You know,
I would strongly disagree with it. I personally am believing it's not racist. It's like, it's a show that at its peak made fun of everyone.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's racist, but there are people who definitely do.
There are people who believe it is, yes.
Yeah.
I guess we should probably stay clear of politics on the show. Hi, it's Donald Trump, regular listener to the show. That one unidentified listener in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we've got one in the UK as well. I'm pretty sure it's Boris Johnson, man. We're getting the triumvirate. I'm just waiting for ScoMo, man.
ScoMo. Well, I mean, you know, the savior of Engadine Macca's. If you don't know what the connection between Scott Morrison and Engadine Macca's is, just put those two things into Google. I'm not responsible for what comes up. The Google machine does all the work. We've got the Oscars coming up on Monday, by the way.
Yeah. And how much?
I know you're excited. You're very excited. I assume our invitation got lost in the mail again.
Mm-hmm.
I assume they'll just have seat fillers where we would be sitting.
Well, I went in 2006. I'm not going to go back.
Who won that year, by the way?
Constant Gardener, I think it was.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, the rumors you were responsible for, you know, the La La Land mix-up. There's no truth to any of that?
I can neither confirm nor deny my involvement in that situation.
Okay. That means you did it. Do you have a favorite performance this year, or do you have a tip to who you think?
Well, I'm looking at the listing now. We'll go through some of the big ones. Yeah, Best Picture, 1917, Ford versus Ferrari, Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, The Irishman, Little Women, Jojo Rabbit, and Marriage Story. What's your who do you think's going to go away with the gold there? I reckon it's probably going to be 1917, but it could end up having the same shutout that Chris Nolan's Dunkirk did, and I would love to see Parasite win.
I haven't seen Parasite, but I've heard it's very good.
Mm.
And wouldn't that be revolutionary? A foreign language film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I find the Oscars feel more and more every year like when I watch the Royal Rumble. When I watched the Royal Rumble, I watched it. I went to the pub a couple of weeks ago and watched the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And I enjoyed it, sort of. What I find disappointing, I do like a little bit of we like a little bit of pro wrestling. Yeah. What I find disappointing about that event now is the winner of a Royal Rumble gets a title shot at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest show of the year. That means the winner is incredibly predictable. So you can reverse engineer who the winner's going to be, by looking at, okay, who are they going to send to WrestleMania? Mm-hmm. They use every year in the Royal Rumble, they'll bring back, an old favorite, from the past. This year it was Edge.
Yep.
And you go, I fucking love Edge. The crowd popped huge. They're not sending him to WrestleMania.
No.
He's too old. His body's not right. He's going to do a few dates a year and that's it. So you can go, it's Edge and two other guys in the ring at the end. Edge is not going to get the title shot at WrestleMania. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to be some random bloke, right?
Suddenly you come back and you're going to be in the biggest, as WWE would like you to put it, the biggest wrestling event of the year.
I don't think there's any doubt that it is. It's never going to be Captain Rando, right? They have mid-card guy come in at number 5 or even at 25, right? You're like, they're not winning.
Mm.
You just got to go, who do they want in the main event at Mania?
Yeah.
And then you go, well, it's going to be one of 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah.
Makes it boring. So I kind of feel like the same thing with the Oscars now. You just look at it and go, Parasite can't win because it's foreign language. They'll never vote for that.
Mm-hmm.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, did I hear that was nominated?
Yep.
Tarantino never wins. Won't be that. Could be the best film of the year. Could be the best film of the decade. They won't vote for Tarantino.
No,
but he's going to get a nod because, yes, well done, Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get a consolation Oscar, by the way. I'd suggest.
Absolutely.
Screenplay. There might be an acting Oscar because he does have a habit of getting people acting Oscars. Robert Forster, Christoph Waltz a couple of times. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, Leo or Brad. I think Leo and Brad might have been nominated for it.
Yeah. Just looking at this, like there are a couple that are very obvious Oscar bait ones. There's 1917, Ford versus Ferrari, and The Irishman. Obviously, The Irishman, Martin Scorsese.
The Irishman is potentially in there. The Academy likes Scorsese, but I think 1917 is the obvious choice. It's conservative in the sense that it's a war film set 100 years ago. It's not controversial. There's no questions around diversity or representation. It's not a controversial topic. It's not too violent because it's a war film. You can be as violent as you want. It's a safe choice.
That actually highlights where it is a great way of talking about all of them, because you've got your classic war movie, you've got the biopic of Ford versus Ferrari, you've got the new movie of Joker, you've got Tarantino for the film critic fans, you've got Parasite for the international flair, The Irishman for the established stalwart of cinema of Martin Scorsese. You've got Little Women, the only movie directed by a female director in there. Jojo Rabbit and Marriage Story, more of your independent thing. So it's a smorgasbord of, yes, we're inclusive, look at all of this, but in reality, no, there's a token gesture.
Criticized again this year for too many white men and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by by being like the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
All you got to do is reverse engineer it and go, is this the kind of film they want to see holding the Oscar?
Yeah.
Is this the film they want winning the title?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, don't think so.
Nope.
Plus, I don't think Jojo Rabbit was quite that good. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, maybe it's a film about Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollywood does like films about Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
So this is not without a chance.
Mm.
And personally, I mean, Tarantino fanboy hat on,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the best film I saw this year past. But it probably won't because I just don't like Quentin.
No.
He could potentially, because it could be his second last feature film. So he could be staring down the barrel of a consolation Oscar,
Mm-hmm.
a la Peter Jackson got for Return of the King.
Yeah.
Not the best film in the trilogy,
Nope.
by stretch, but it was the one that got the awards.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, here's a recognition of all the shit that came before. So maybe Quentin might, but I think 1917 is a safe choice there.
Yeah, I think so.
In terms of best actress, I think it's a one-horse race, and that's Renee Zellweger.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about Bombshell. Apparently, it's very good. Charlize Theron has been nominated for that. Harriet, Cynthia Everio, I know nothing about that. Haven't heard at all about that movie. Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story. It's unlikely that's going to happen. It's a Netflix movie, and the Oscars have got an unusual relationship with Netflix at this point. So maybe, but I don't think that movie is being talked about because of her phenomenal performance. It's an indie darling. And so I can never pronounce her name, but Saoirse Ronan. Yes, thank you. In Little Women. I think that she is someone who is probably going to get an Oscar in her career because she is an incredibly talented young actress. I don't know whether they're going to want to grace her with that yet. And
I mean, it's Renee Zellweger. As I think I mentioned last week, I saw it on a cruise.
Yeah.
Again, it was in a cinema on a cruise. But she's actually fantastic in it. And it's the kind of award, the kind of role that wins the award.
Yeah.
So again, Royal Rumble approach. Are they comfortable seeing Renee winning the award? It's a very safe role. Hollywood legend. Been dead 60 years. Very comfortable seeing Renee get the title.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually fantastic in it. It's the kind of thing that the Academy likes. She'd be my unbackable favorite in the actress category. What do you think about actor?
That is a little harder to call because we've got quite an unusual eclectic group there. You got Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, and Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just based off the fact that he won the BAFTA, I think Joaquin is probably the front runner, but it's still going to be interesting to see how and when the Oscars are going to really hang a lot of gold on superhero movies and superhero inspired. And they already posthumously did it with Heath Ledger for Joker as well as a supporting actor. It would be an unusual kind of story to tell for the character of Joker, for him to suddenly get Best Actor as well as a character. Jonathan Pryce is
the bookies. Joaquin Phoenix is in an unbackable favorite.
Oh,
$1.03 you'll get for Joaquin Phoenix. Next in line in betting is Adam Driver, $12.
Wow.
Then you're down
okay.
$21 for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I suggest that I'm with you. Just to go back to the actress nominations, Renee Zellweger is paying $1.05.
Yeah.
So again, then you're moving on to Scarlett Johansson at $10. So again, Renee is the unbackable favorite. I personally, I mean, again, I said it a moment ago. I maybe the reward Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for an acting Oscar. Joaquin was good in Joker. I mean, he was incredible in that. But I think Leo can be rightly feel hard done by when he doesn't win this Oscar because, I mean, I think I've said in the show before, I'm not a huge fan of Leo. I feel like Leo plays Leo pretty much all the time. and that's fine, and that impresses the shit out of people.
Mm.
But not me. I don't think if you're playing, he never loses himself in a character for me. He never becomes a character. He's just Leo playing the character. I haven't seen that film he won the Oscar for, which his name escapes me right now.
The Revenant,
which sounded really dull.
It was
But
good.
But Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for the first time in my film viewing experience, really inhabits a character and completely disappears into the character of Rick Dalton.
Okay.
And so for me, I mean, I'm glad he got a nod. Tarantino's guys usually do. But I think he was amazing in that. But geez, tough year, right? Sometimes it's a pretty hot competition. Any other year, I think he'd be doing pretty well. I'm very glad Adam Driver's getting a nod as well, because I'm becoming a big fan of his. Just a quick cover off on the betting on Best Picture. 1917 is a $1.35 favorite in front of Parasite paying $5 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood paying $9.
So it's closer spread for the films compared to the actors, for sure.
Then the long shot is Ford versus Ferrari paying $251. So I think we can safely conclude that's not going to happen. Interesting, because I was talking about acting awards for Quentin. Fanboy hat on. Brad Pitt is paying $1.03 for Best Supporting Actor. Second line of betting is Al Pacino paying $15 for The Irishman. Joe Pesci paying $15. Tom Hanks $26.
I don't think either of Al Pacino or Pesci will win. I think the fact that they're being nominated for the same movie is going to kind of split the vote a little bit. So I think that's only going to work in Brad's favor, really.
In terms of screenplay, Parasite might be the one there, $1.65. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, $2.15. Best director looks like it's going to go to Sam Mendes for his second time. At $1.12, Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, and then Quentin Tarantino at 17, Martin Scorsese at 26, Todd Phillips at 26 as well.
I'm disappointed with the Best Animated Feature collection, to be honest. I think it's a very weak year. You've got Klaus, Missing Link, Toy Story 4, How to Train Your Dragon 3, and I Lost My Body. I think that is very piss poor
in a long time.
Yeah, I think
last year where we had Into the Spider-Verse, that Pixar film, and a couple others in there which escaped my mind. I remember last year looking at it going, this is potentially the best lineup of best animated films you'd have ever seen.
Yeah.
This year, I think it's got to be Toy Story 4.
Probably. Yeah. I really don't think they're going to put it on How to Train Your Dragon 3. I also don't think that is the best of the three films. The second one is the best. And they are all strong movies, all three of them, but the second one is just better. I haven't watched I Lost My Body. The Missing Link, that is nowhere near as good as Like I have been in the past. Kubo and the Two Strings is still their best feature. And Klaus, it was charming. It's on Netflix for anyone who wants to watch it, but it is not an Oscar-worthy movie. That, for me, in many ways, is kind of when Jimmy Neutron got fucking nominated for Best Animated Feature. Come on. Toy Story 4, no.
Pixar usually win.
Yeah. That's why it's the safe option.
The interesting, and then back to the Royal Rumble approach. What's the safe choice?
Yeah.
Who do they want to see holding the title? And the other thing I'm very excited to say is at this stage, Jojo Rabbit is a $1.45 favorite for Best Adapted Screenplay, ahead of Little Women, The Irishman, Joker, and The Two Popes. I would really, really seriously love to see Taika Waititi get an Oscar because I'm a huge fan. And I thought it was a wonderful little film. Not quite, as I sort of said, I'm not sure it's quite in the category of some of the big ones this year. I'm not quite sure I'm glad he got a Best Picture nod. I'd love to see him get a little Oscar. But Todd Phillips, I mean, of all the awards that Joker's been nominated for this year, looks like I see one at least, but unless maybe some of the technicals. So it was when like sound mixing or freaking cinematography or some shit like that.
I really think that the work that he did, Todd Phillips did for Joker, it was good, solid work, and possibly his best directorial effort, but it was so much his homage to a younger Martin Scorsese. Is like, no, he is like possibly the best improved director or something along those lines, maybe. But I think
An
if he
encouragement
can,
award, a pat in the back, and a $50 voucher from Pizza Hut.
but if I'm curious to see what he does with his next film, because he did show so much improvement as a serious director. I mean, he was known for so long as a kind of gross out teenage comedy movie, and then young adult, and then midlife crisis movie with like Due Date and stuff like that. I hope that he does more of this serious stuff. But
Well, his next film on IMDb, and I read about this last week, apparently is the untitled Hulk Hogan biopic. The word on the street right now is that Chris Hemsworth has been cast as Hulk Hogan.
see, now that is a curious combination. I think Chris Hemsworth has got the right amount of comedy chops, physicality, and general acting guts to be able to pull off playing Hulk Hogan. Based off of Todd Phillips' work now, I think that he could be on a similar path to what was the director of The Big Short? Jay Roach?
Oh, Adam McKay?
Adam McKay, yeah. The fact that he transitioned very successfully into these more serious kind of films, if he can kind of pull it together, and if they are kind of given enough free rein to actually go into some of the more nitty gritty, uglier side of Hulkamania, I think they could have a very interesting, compelling piece of cinema there. But it's such an unknown quantity at this moment, considering how much of the Hulk Hogan story are they going to do? Are they going to try and tell all of it? Are they going to focus on the latter part of his life, the early part? What, I don't know what they're going to do.
I would hope, and people, again, regular bot listeners will understand, but my favorite type of biopic, and I think the successful biopics, pick an episode in someone's life,
Yes.
or episodes. I think back to the Michael Fassbender Jobs film as compared to
Perfect
the
example.
Ashton Kutcher Steve Jobs film. Ashton Kutcher was really good as Steve Jobs, but the film was weak because it tried to tell the whole story, which is a big story for someone as influential as Steve Jobs.
Yes.
So whereas the Michael Fassbender film, which was Aaron Sorkin's script, picked three important key moments or dates in Steve Jobs' life and told that story and used that as a microcosm for the entirety of a Jobs story. And that was Oscar nominated. It was incredibly successful. A wonderful film if you haven't seen it before. I think it's just called Jobs, if I'm not mistaken. So if you try to tell Hulk's story, we're going 35, 40 years of professional wrestling, because he's still kind of kicking around a little bit.
Yeah.
And you sort of go back into the early 80s. I would hope the script has been written by one of the writers of Joker. What's his name? Scott Silver. And someone I've never heard of called John Polona, who doesn't seem to have done very much. I would hope for their sake that they don't try and tell the whole story, because that's going to be a shit. And you got to do aging technology and makeup, and it doesn't always look great. So they may try and take, maybe they'll try that approach and try and tell some sort of key moments in the story. I'd be fascinated to see what it looks like being a wrestling fan, but I'm like, that's a bit for sublime to the ridiculous. We were skeptical when they said they would make a standalone Joker film, so more power to Todd. One quick final Oscar question I'd like to end with, because this is your area of special expertise. Best musical score. Does John Williams win it again? We have Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, 1917, Joker, Little Women, and Marriage Story.
Uh,
While George is thinking, I'd like to just remind people that we had a special test at Electric Firebrand Studios once where I randomly played, I think, with no hint to George, which one they were. I played 5 random tracks from Marvel film scores. And he got 5 from fucking 5, I think. I think he might have missed one, and that was because it was Blade, and it's not technically part of the MCU.
yeah, possibly.
But it
Okay,
was
so my rundown of this. I think that Randy Newman and Marriage Story is probably the least likely to win. I think that it's gonna be. I think the one that I would like to win is Hilda uh, Guðnadóttir. I I apologize for absolutely destroying your name, for Joker, because listening to the music individually, separated from the visuals and the performance of Joaquin Phoenix, it is still brilliantly encapsulating the character that they show on screen. It is perfect marriage of music to medium. Thomas Newman and John Williams are 2 of the big hitters when it comes to music for the Oscars. The fact that it is the end of the Star Wars saga probably gives John Williams a bit of an edge, but I also think that it is his weakest script score, because he has just been, over the course of his career, if you listen to his movies going forwards since about 1996 to 1999, he has been basically rehashing his own work. And, you know, with a library as big as his and as iconic as it is, with the fucking Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Harry Potter, all of these absolute tentpole legendary scores, Jurassic Park, Jaws, all of this shit. No, he didn't do Jaws. I don't think
he did.
He did? Yeah. You're obviously going to kind of end up treading over old ground, but so much of it is very similar, and it's especially with something like Star Wars, where it is, that movie is all about, oh yes, this is a riff on the Duel of the Fates, and this is a bit of Luke Skywalker, and this is a little bit of Princess Leia, and this is a bit of Han. It's all of that. So it's nostalgia soundtrack for a nostalgia movie. It's not worthy of an Oscar. 1917, I haven't listened to it. I haven't watched it, so I don't know the quality of it, but Thomas Newman has done fantastic music in the past. My favorite of his is Road to Perdition. Amazing. Absolutely beautiful cinema score. So I think that I would probably say John Williams probably got the edge, closely followed by Thomas Newman. My personal choice would be Joker. Oh, I didn't mention Alexander Desplat for Little Women. He has done some good stuff, but I don't think that he's going to win. I think that he is the also ran, unfortunately.
I just wanted to add that Hilda, Hilda G, won the Golden Globe.
Okay. Yep.
That is good form for the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd just like to say she's had a fucking year and a half. Because not only did she score Joker this year and got the Golden Globe for that, and potentially an Oscar, she also scored Chernobyl.
Oh, fuck yeah. That was a good score as well.
So that's a hell of a year for anybody. So kudos to her. She's obviously extraordinarily talented.
Yeah, she's done some fantastic stuff. She did the music for The Handmaid's Tale. She did Revenant, which was very well lauded. She's slowly but surely building a really, really impressive catalog.
Yeah, and I would imagine she'd be quite in demand from here on out.
Yeah, I think so.
That kind of thing. Well, that's interesting. We'll be able to come back next week and compare notes and see how far off the mark we were.
Yeah. The last thing that I would like to just quickly give a little nod to is a little game that I've been playing, and that is SteamWorld Heist.
You're playing this on Nintendo?
On Nintendo Switch. The Image and Form, the creators, have done a number of games in the SteamWorld universe. There's SteamWorld Dig 1, SteamWorld Dig 2, SteamWorld Heist, and Gilgamech's Revenge. They've just recently, might still be running, or it might have ended this week, a very, very impressive sale on the Nintendo eShop of their stuff. And I picked up SteamWorld Heist for $8, I think it was, and it is charming turn-based RPG-ish kind of thing. It's just really, really charming, incredibly easy to pick up and play. The difficulty when you want a challenge, crank it up, and it's really intelligent and smart and really makes you think. Every kind of ship that you kind of dock with and have to you're basically kind of a pirate and stealing all of the provisions from these other ships as the story plays out in the background. There's a certain element of random generation to each one. So even if you're going back to a ship that you've already done, it's a slightly different layout, slightly different kind of thing. So there's a lot of replay value, lots and lots of items to pick up, weapons, power-ups. Everything's about hats in the game. So you can get some ridiculously over-the-top hats and stuff. It's just very, very enjoyable. And for less than $10, it is an absolute steal. This is worth more. So if you've missed that very good discount, I do recommend it. Image and Form make really good quality, solid, lower kind of blockbuster style games where they're not pushing tech to the limit or anything. They are all about the fundamentals and having rock solid gameplay. It is an enjoyable game loop that you just enjoy. Yeah, so that's my thought.
Quite an endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still running. I'm doing I think a fourth or fifth run through of Fallout 4.
I've noticed you being on there, yeah.
And guess what? I think it crashes more now than it did when it came out.
Gee, I'm so surprised.
I think I said it when it came out, but it's now what 2-3 years since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a console game. I'm playing on console. I've never had a console game crash anywhere near as much.
Oh yeah,
anywhere, not even remotely close. As much as Fallout 4. If I'm playing it for 3 or 4 hours, it's got to crash 2 or 3 times.
Jesus.
Well, but hey, that gives us. It's funny because like Skyrim, no hassles, but Fallout 4. And it's like it's all recycled assets. So, yay, good work, Bethesda. We have so much faith in what you're going to do with. Well, I have faith in Doom Eternal, but I don't know about anything else.
I still have faith in the next Skyrim game whenever that does come out.
Yeah, well, it's quite a while away. We'll see how they go.
That's true.
They've got some ground to make up.
That's true. They need to make a bit of an apology, I think.
We'll see how they go. But that's the way. We don't want to get into whether gaming will be here or not.
All right, so just a little teaser for the next episode. So we are going to be talking, or just reviewing the. We're going to talk about top 5 Michael Bay movies, and I have got.
I might try and get out this week to see Birds of Prey, which opens tomorrow.
I might try and actually watch that tomorrow evening, depending on I'm helping someone move more shit around. So apparently I'm hire a driver, but I've got a loaded dance card. I'm planning on
a highly muscular, beefcake who only see the beef filling my screen. McDonald's would be suing us.
I've got a full dance card of stuff that I have said I'm going to watch. I'm going to get around to watching the finale of Sense8, the feature film that came out on Netflix. Gonna smash through the final season of The Good Place now that that's all done, and finish off BoJack Horseman. And I've got season 2 of Sex Education to watch. I really enjoyed the first season of that, so I'm gonna have plenty to talk about.
And episode 3 of Picard.
Oh yes, absolutely. Have you caught up with number 2?
I have caught up with number 2.
All right, we will talk about that next week.
Okay, but we'll cover it in more detail with episode 3 next week.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around. A bit of another bumper episode. We're making up for lost time, I think. And certainly plan right now is to record again next week. There's no D&D recording because this week I was dealing with a bit of depression, so I wasn't running the game. But next week I should have a fresh session up and running of that ridiculous mayhem. Until next time, this is goodbye from me and goodbye from him.
Good night.
Good night.
Ask me how I am, and tell me what's beneath this sleep. There's something else in place, and in the silence those words will keep. We'll keep, we'll keep. What is your truth? Has it been blurred by time? Has it seeped away from you? What is your truth? We dread this ebb and flow. It's taking pieces bit by bit. The more we're shown, the less we know. Helpless by all and after still. We'll keep, we'll keep. What is your truth? Has it been blurred by time? Has it seeped away from you? What is your truth? We'll keep, we'll keep. We'll keep, we'll keep. We'll keep, we'll keep. We'll keep, we'll keep.